አድዋ ትላንት መቼ ተነሱና የወዳደቁት ምስጋና ለነሱ ለአድዋ ጀግኖች ለዛሬ ነፃነት ላበቁኝ ወገኖች
In the 17th and 18th century, the European superpowers colonized the rest of the world, including Africa, to exploit their natural resources and other wealth. Europeans mainly turned their face to Africa in the late 19th century, a period better described as the scramble for Africa. As part of this move, the newly unified Italy at that time had tried to colonize Ethiopia.
Italy cannot understand why the League of Nations that's taken no step in the Chinese-Japanese question, that has not interfered in the Chaco troubles, is today so strong against this Italian campaign in Abyssinia.
But Ethiopia successfully defeated Italy at the Battle of Adwa on the 2nd of March 1896 near to the town of Adwa. This remarkable victory maintained the sovereignty of Ethiopia and changed the course of world history.
Adwa zarenat, Adwa tlant, መቼ ተነሱና የወዳደቁት ምስጋና ለነሱ ለአድዋ ጀግኖች ለዛሬ ነፃነት ላበቁኝ ወገኖች
አውሮፓውያን አፍሪካን ለመቀራመት will
When the Europeans agreed to divide African nations among themselves and go for it, Ethiopia achieved a huge victory that meticulously contradicted their ambition. So the victory of Adwa is the symbol of freedom for African countries and black people around the world, especially those in Jamaica and the United States. They are proud of it.
የሀገራችን ህዝቦች በጋራ ተዋግተው ታግለው ያስጠበቁት ነፃነት ይሁን እንጂ
Although it is a victory that had been achieved by the joint efforts of the Ethiopian people, the victory of Adwa is the pride of all black people oppressed by colonization and slavery. It gives them the hope that they will be free at some point. That's why many historians proudly talk about the victory of Adwa. They see it as their own history and heritage. This usually is demonstrated whenever our Prime Minister or other government officials visit different countries.
አፍሪካውያን ናቸው አውሮፓውያንን ድል ያደረጉት በአድዋ ላይ
They were Africans that defeated Europeans at Adwa, so the victory of Adwa was the first triumph in reversing the European plan and decision of scrambling Africa in 1884 and 85, which aimed at colonizing all African nations. After that victory, all Africans developed a very strong positive spirit. It has motivated them significantly and contributed a lot for the independence of many African countries.
Many historians stated that the victory of Adwa has contributed a great deal for the new Ethiopia's nation-building project.
የአድዋ ድል ባይኖር ኖሮ አሁን ያለችው ኢትዮጵያ probably ሌላ ቅርጽ ይዛ ወይም ሌላ መልክ ሌላ ታሪክ ይዛ ነበር ልናያት የምንችል
If the victory of Adwa didn't happen at all, probably the current Ethiopia would have another history or shape. The triumph was not only about defeating the external invading force. It was also about establishing modern government by ourselves in Africa. The Ethiopian people learned that they can overcome any challenge by working together. Then after, they have built modern Ethiopia.
Different nations, nationalities, and peoples of Ethiopia come together voluntarily, designed war plan and equipped themselves with various traditional weapons, following Emperor Menelek's call to defend the nation. As part of their preparation, they have even done spy works. They had jointly fought the enemy with great understanding. That is how they achieved the victory. It was one of the manifestations of the national unity. We can say that the new Ethiopia was built at that time. Its significance was also very high, as various nations and nationalities and peoples have contributed a lot for the success. As a result, they managed to sustain the independence of Ethiopia. They made all Ethiopians proud and free to live in free country which they have inherited from their forefathers. So it has huge values in it. The victory has also created very strong spirit of national unity, which is part of the wider nation-building project. It is a proven part of history.
National kurat gambተናል national unity ፈጥረናል.
We've built a national pride, national unity, and our own government. We've also built a renowned country that has good image. If we continue working on such foundations, I believe this part of our history will help us build a strong generation. When we see it at continental level, the Europeans came to divide Africa among themselves. So when we achieve the victory at one part of the continent, the victory belonged to all black people around the world.
Adwa zarenat, Adwa tlant, mache tanassunna yewadadekut. Masgana lanasu Adwa jegnoch, lezare netzannet labekuñ waganochi.
Under the colonial rule, Africans and black people around the world suffered a lot from race discrimination and human rights abuse. To stop such harsh treatment of human beings and strengthen bonds of solidarity between the people of African descent, the Pan-African movement began. The movement is based on the belief that unity is vital to economic, social, and political progress. Pan-Africanism at its core is a belief that African people in the continent and in the diaspora share not a merely common history, but a common destiny. The victory of Adwa further strengthened this movement by uplifting the spirit of Africans and black people around the world. It also served as a model for the anti-colonial movement, and finally all African countries gained their independence.
Many were freed without bloodshed. 1960 was hailed the Year of Africa.
Freedom. Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever. We are going to demonstrate to the world, to the other nations, young as we are, that we are prepared to lay our own foundation.
In addition to intensifying their struggle to independence, the victory of Adwa helped African countries establish the Organization of the African Unity, one of the illustrations of their unity.
የአድዋ ላይ የተደረገው ድል ከፓን አፍሪካን እንቅስቃሴ በኋላ ደግሞ ፓን አፍሪካን እንቅስቃሴን ወደ ተቋምነት እንድንቀይረው ያደረገ ነው።
The victory of Adwa has created the Pan-African movement. Later on, it has become a reason for the establishment of the Organization of African Unity, currently the African Union. The victory of Adwa is also one of the reasons why Addis Ababa became the seat of the African Union. Ethiopia has been always seen as the symbol of freedom and resistance by black people in Africa, America, the Caribbean, and other parts of the world. Ethiopia is seen from this perspective.
The victory of Adwa is more than a simple battle account. It was a symbol of resistance for Africans and African Americans in the bad days. It has also sealed the unity of Ethiopia. To commemorate this remarkable victory, the Ethiopian government has decided to establish the Adwa Pan-African University in the town of Adwa.
በጉንበት 2008 ዓመተ ምህረት ጀምሮ መሰረተ ድንጋይ እስከ ተጣለበት ከዚያም አልፎ በየአካባቢው መሬቱ
Preliminary works of building the Adwa Pan-African University were started in May 2008. A foundation stone was laid in April 2017 by Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn. Several works have been undertaken since then. The progress is a bit slow. Understanding its significance, different segments of society are working tirelessly for the realization of the university.
The university, which is to be built in the historic town of Adwa, will play a magnificent role in conducting thorough researches on the history of Ethiopia and all black people around the world, producing efficient scholars that could solve critical problems on the continent, strengthening people-to-people relations, and preserving common values of African people are some of the major objectives of the university.
When we establish this university at the Adwa Pan-African University, there will be an opportunity in which the history of Adwa could be written in books and journals and be told forever. Adwa is not only the victory of Ethiopia, it is also the victory of Africans and all black people. So this university should be an important platform in which all Africans could freely work for a better future in peace and development. The idea of establishing the Adwa Pan-African University came from Ethiopians. This showed the level of our commitment for the realization of the Pan-African movement, relating it to the victory of Adwa.
ዩኒቨርሲቲ መገንባት እንግዲህ ብዙ ጊዜ አንድ ጊዜ ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትሩም በሄድኩበት ሁሉ ብለውናል አንድ አስተባባሪ ኮሚቴ ያገኛቸው.
Some time ago, when the coordinating committee met our Prime Minister, he told us that whenever he goes from Jamaica to South Africa, people speak about Adwa and they are proud of it. So there is a need to commemorate such a significant victory by building a strong institution. This will in turn play a significant role in boosting a positive spirit in the next generation. The reason why Adwa town is chosen is because it is the place where the war had taken place. It is the right place to meet the set objectives. The other thing is, during the 50 years anniversary of OAU, African leaders have envisioned what the continent has to look like 50 years down the road. They planned to further integrate the continent. Accordingly, students from all African countries will go to the university upon its completion. Ethiopia cannot enroll its students more than the offered quota. Knowing and understanding each other in the upcoming university, African students would enhance the envisioned integration of the continent.
ወጣቱ የኛ ወጣት የሀገራችን ወጣት የአፍሪካውያን ወጣቶች በጋራ ባንድነት አህጉራቸውን የሚያለሙበት
Youngsters from our country and other African nations should prepare and organize themselves to ensure the development and renaissance of their continent. So the upcoming university will play an important role in solving the current problems of the continent and set the right direction to prosperity. Africa has been suffering from a number of ideologies and theories, such as socialism, neoliberalism, and others which were originated and grown in other parts of the world. We hope that this university will come up with at least an initial idea, if not a complete one, to enable the use of the continent and solve the existing problems.
It's a multi-purpose. ሁለት ነገሮች ናቸው በኢትዮጵያ ደረጃ ስናየው ናሽናሊዝም የኔሽን ቢልዲንግ ፕሮሰስ እንደገና የምናጠናክርበት ነው.
This is a multi-purpose university. It merely serves two things. When we say it at national level, it will strengthen nationalism, which is an important element of nation building. And if we say it from a continental perspective, it will help to properly utilize resources and solve major problems of Africa. What are those problems? They are economic challenge, backwardness, disease and lack of peace. It has to play a crucial role in solving these problems. The other thing is, it has to contribute its part to develop the existing resources. With good histories, we are the origin of humankind. We've also a colorful culture. So it has to be a center where all these values should be reserved, developed, and displayed to the people of the world.
When it goes operational, the Adwa Pan-African University is expected to bring significant diplomatic importance to Ethiopia.
Its diplomatic implication is very high. If this is a center for all black people, diplomatically it means all are diplomas for Ethiopia. If any problem is to happen, for example a security threat, no one will be willing to accept that, as Ethiopia is a center for all Africans. So it is an advantage for our country and the entire Africa to bring consensus and share the resources we own.
The initial design of the university master plan was prepared by the Ethiopian Institute of Architecture, Building and City Construction. It was designed in a way that could represent the struggles of the Ethiopian nations, nationalities and peoples, and the spirit of the Pan-African movement.
Pan-Africanism መንፈስ ማንጸባረቅ አለበት.
It has to reflect the spirit of the Pan-African movement. The chosen place for the construction of the university is the town of Adwa. Specifically, it is located in the southeastern part of the town. The topography itself is very unique, featuring mountains and gorges. One can see the town and the battlefield of Adwa, where our forefathers defeated the external invading force from a distance. So the university design was done considering the topography of the site and its historical significance. Moreover, the building architecture itself was designed to express the history and future struggle of Africans and black people, taking into account their cultural values. As it is known, Ethiopia has many nations, nationalities, and peoples. They have different house building, clothing, and way of life. But here in this design, we have incorporated their joint effort in defeating foreign enemy, protecting their country, putting their differences aside. So it has to reflect all these things, putting unity in diversity. Not only Ethiopia, it has also considered house building style of other African countries, imitating their architectural and villagization styles.
The Ethiopian government has been supporting the construction of the university since its commencement. Even recently, it has allocated 200 million birr, which will be used for this Ethiopian budget year. The project requires the contribution of all citizens.
The project is not only for that of Adwa, Tigray, Ethiopia or some other parts of the world, East Africa. It is a project of all black and oppressed people around the globe. The point is we have to develop the historic place that we have ignored for the last 122 years. If we keep on ignoring, there are a lot of things that could be forgotten. At that time, people may even ask what the story was. So as a people and as a country, we have to do something without taking much more time. So I call upon each and every citizen, the youth, the elderly, men and women, mothers and fathers, all to contribute their part for the realization of this project.
The upcoming Adwa Pan-African University will be an important institution that celebrates not only the victory of Ethiopia over Italy, but also the defeat of colonization, slavery, and oppression. Adwa deserves many more institutions of that kind in remembrance of a historic incident in black history.
Adwa ዛሬ ናት አድዋ ትላንት መቼ ተነሱና